The Andes don't need monsters to kill you, but they have them anyway. And today you're meeting 3 of their favorites: a shape-shifting puma, a wind spirit that eats people, and something called a Jiwana. Sounds cute. It's not. Out here, survival isn't just about staying warm or finding oxygen. It's about avoiding things you didn't even think existed. The locals have names for them, stories that have been passed down so many times the details blur, but the warnings stay sharp. The shape-shifting puma can walk into your camp looking like a tired traveler and leave with one more set of teeth than it arrived with. The wind spirit rides down the mountains at night, cold enough to freeze your breath in your chest. And if it likes you, it takes you with it, whether you want to go or not. And the Jiwana? Well, that one waits. Always by water, always watching. The Andes are a brutal place, even without these things. The air is thin enough to make every step feel like a bad decision. The weather changes so fast it can turn your sunny hike into a whiteout death trap, and the terrain has a habit of dropping away beneath your feet with no warning. But the creatures here? They use all of that to their advantage. That's why locals don't just talk about the mountains. They talk about what lives in them. I once met a guide in a small Andean village who told me he could walk the high passes blindfolded and never get lost, but he wouldn't dare cross certain trails alone because the puma knows the human shape better than most humans do. I've heard from shepherds who have felt the wind carry whispers in a language they didn't know, but somehow understood, and then realized the whisper wasn't around them, it was inside them. And every traveler who's camped near the high lakes swears they've seen ripples when the water was perfectly still. The Andes are vast, unforgiving, and very good at keeping secrets. If you think the cold is the worst thing up here, you're about to meet the warm, wet breath of something worse. In the Andes, even the big cats have learned new tricks, and the shape-shifting puma is the one locals talk about in the kind of tone that makes you feel like they are not telling you everything. Known as the ukumar or puma manca, it is said to walk both as a beast and as a human, slipping between the two forms whenever it suits the hunt. People here don't tell you to fear the puma for its teeth or its claws, but for the moment you realize you've been talking to it. The belief goes back generations, and every village has its own twist on the story. Some say the puma learned this skill from the spirits of the mountains themselves, a reward for guarding sacred places. Others claim it was punishment, forced to walk in human skin so it could understand the fear it causes. Whatever the origin, the warning is the same. Don't trust the stranger you meet in the high passes, especially if he has the eyes of a predator. The story I heard came from a hunter in a small Andean village, the kind of man who speaks little and never wastes words on fantasy. He had been tracking what he thought was a lone traveler for 3 days through winding trails of rock and snow. The figure always stayed just ahead, never gaining distance, never falling behind, almost as if it wanted to be followed. On the 3rd night, beneath a moon that lit the snow like silver, the hunter finally closed the gap. In the middle of a clearing stood a tall man in an old, weather-beaten coat. His back was turned, and he stood so still that the hunter thought he might be frozen. Then the man turned. His face was shadowed by the moonlight, but his eyes caught it perfectly, 2 green discs that glowed like wet glass. They did not blink. The hunter called out, asking if the man was lost. The answer was not words. The man tilted his head in a way no human neck should, and a low, rolling purr rumbled from deep in his chest. The sound was wrong, not the vibration of a voice, but the animal growl of something that could sprint faster than you could scream. The hunter stepped back, heart pounding, but the man stepped forward, the purr growing louder, richer, until it filled the night air. He saw the coat shift slightly in the moonlight, and for a moment, the outline beneath it wasn't shaped like a man at all. Instinct took over. He ran, stumbling over the uneven ground, breath burning in his throat, the sound of the purr never far behind him. When he finally dared to glance over his shoulder, the clearing was empty again, silent except for the wind brushing through the trees. By morning, the only trace left was a line of paw prints in the snow, each one the size of a dinner plate, each one pointing in the direction he had come from. The wind in the Andes is already dangerous enough to strip the heat from your body in minutes, but some say there is a kind of wind you cannot prepare for. It is called huayra, and the locals speak of it as if it is alive, an entity that moves with purpose, not weather. The ordinary winds howl, they rush, they push. Huayra chooses. It chooses who hears it, who feels its icy breath, and who never comes back. Old stories claim it descends from the highest peaks invisible until it decides to take form, sometimes as a swirl of snow that moves against the real wind, other times as a dark figure that dissolves when you try to look straight at it. Those who believe in it say that Huayra doesn't just take life, it takes everything that made you yourself, carrying it away like dust in a storm. The story that stuck with me came from a mining town halfway up a valley where the wind is constant and cruel. A group of miners had been working deep into the mountain when one of them claimed he heard whistling, soft at first, then sharper, like someone calling a dog. The others laughed until they heard it too, echoing down the shaft from somewhere above ground. They emerged to find the air unnaturally still. No dust moved, no sound except the whistle, now drifting between them like it had a mind of its own. One of the men, uneasy, went to fetch the town shaman. The shaman arrived quickly, but his face drained the moment he stepped into the clearing. He told them not to speak, not to answer, no matter what the voice said. The whistling stopped, replaced by the sound of footsteps circling them, though the snow under their feet lay undisturbed. The shaman closed his eyes, murmuring prayers to the mountains themselves, but the air began to thicken, colder and heavier, as if the sky was dropping onto their shoulders. A shape began to form in the haze, long and thin, moving against the natural wind. It drifted close enough that the shaman's breath turned to ice between them. And just when the shaman thought he was safe, the creature licked his soul. Not a metaphor. Literally. Licked. His soul. He gasped like someone had punched the air out of him, and the thing slipped past his body like smoke through a crack. The wind roared to life again, slamming into them from all sides. In the chaos, the shaman stumbled toward the edge of the clearing, arms out as if to catch himself, but with the next gust, he was gone. Not a trace, not even a smell. People in the Andes will tell you that if Huayra does not get you, something else will. And often, that something is far quieter. While the wind can rip a man off the ground in seconds, the next creature prefers to wait, patient as the mountains themselves, drawing you in step by step until escape is almost an afterthought. The Jiwana sounds like a plush toy. In the Andes, it is more like a plush toy that strangles you. The name is disarming, almost cute, which is exactly the point. This small creature is said to wait near lakes and rivers high in the mountains, where the water is so cold it can kill you in minutes, and where travelers often stop to drink without thinking twice. The Jiwana looks harmless at first, sometimes described as a small furry animal with big round eyes, or as a strange water bird with soft feathers that never seem to get wet. It stays very still, head tilted, watching you the way a pet might watch its owner. The trouble is, the longer you watch it back, the less you notice your surroundings. Your boots sink deeper into the mud, the sun slips behind the peaks, and the silence around you grows so heavy it feels like a blanket over your ears. The story I heard came from a shepherdess who grazed her animals near one of the high lakes. She had been walking the shoreline at dusk when she spotted what looked like a baby animal. She thought maybe a lost vicuña, separated from the herd. It sat alone at the water's edge, shivering just enough to make her want to pick it up. She stepped closer, calling softly, but the creature only stared, its eyes reflecting the fading light. When she was close enough to reach out, it let out a small sound, almost a whimper, and that was when she noticed the water behind it. It was moving, not rippling, not disturbed by wind, but shifting forward as if the entire lake had taken a single step toward her. Then the water behind it started to move, and kept moving. A shadow rose up from the surface, spreading outward in a slow wave that did not break, and she realized too late that the creature was not alone. It was the lure, and whatever it belonged to was already under her feet. She turned and ran, the ground sucking at her boots, the sound of rushing water chasing her even though the lake itself remained where it was. She made it back to her flock, shaken and soaked to the knees, and never returned to that shoreline again. So yeah, the Andes have great views, just make sure nothing up there gets a good view of you.